And we are gathered here this morning or this afternoon in a chamber whose centerpiece is this portrait of Abraham Lincoln right above this dais. You know, Abraham Lincoln, he kept our republic together at a time in our history when we were the most divided. And yet he saw the humanity in every person. And I know that all 79 of us here, representing 40 million Californians, we were inspired to public service because we want to make life better for people and hopefully leave a legacy. You know, this year, our focus is on the cost of living and housing and other issues that deserve our urgency. As I said in December at our organizational session, our constituents, they don't feel that the state of California is working for them. And their primary concern is the cost of living here at home. We all know that because we hear it. They're telling us repeatedly. So our task is, it's urgent and it's clear, to make life more affordable for every resident of our state. Of course, we will face challenges that we didn't know were coming, like the horrific fires in Los Angeles, and unfortunately, we know that more challenges will come. And these are times when we must come together, find consensus, not rush to social media to point fingers. Our job, above all else, is to protect our residents, whether the threat is wildfires or other natural disasters, or threats to their civil liberties and freedoms. And let me be blunt, right now, Californians are being threatened by an out-of-control administration in Washington that doesn't care about the Constitution, that thinks there are no limits to its power. Increasingly, our own residents are being threatened by actions taken by the Trump administration, and it is our duty to rise to the moment. We must ensure that our residents receive the federal services, the federal benefits that they have contributed to and that they deserve. Given the many executive orders that have been issued over the past 2 weeks, I can say with clarity, we do not trust President Donald Trump. Just consider the words and actions coming from our president. He has referred to undocumented immigrants as animals. He directed a draconian federal freeze on critical resources for school lunches, life-saving medicine, veterans benefits, resources for the LGBTQ community. The list goes on and on and on. This decision, this memo, caused chaos around the country, resulted in dozens of lawsuits filed on behalf of multiple states who moved swiftly to defend vulnerable residents. He said the horrible disaster at Reagan International Airport last week was because of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. Can you imagine? And he said this with no evidence in the first hours when families are just learning about lost loved ones. Then we learned that just the week prior, President Trump had fired the entire Aviation Security Advisory Committee. He's given the keys. He's given the world's richest man more than a seat at the table. He gave him the keys to the White House, to our federal payment system. Together, they are indiscriminately cutting funds from public safety and reproductive health care to HIV and AIDS prevention. They're intent on enacting retribution under the guise of austerity. And as we all know, President Trump one of his first actions, pardoned violent criminals who viciously attacked U.S. Capitol police officers with metal pipes, baseball bats, flagpoles, leading to injuries, deaths, and suicides. How can we trust a president who calls for law and order, yet pardons his own supporters when they attack law enforcement? Now, our president has given ICE agents the authority to enter schools, churches, and hospitals, all for showy raids that make the evening news. They're sweeping up many immigrants with no criminal history at all, separated from their families, subject to deportation without due process. These are the facts. Here in California, there are 1.8 million undocumented people. People who pay about $8.5 billion in state and local taxes every single year. They raise families and they contribute to our communities. These law-abiding immigrants, they are Californians. They are not criminals. Now look, there has been a long-standing policy in our country that undocumented residents who do commit serious crimes, they must be deported. They must be held accountable. This happened under President Biden. It happened under President Obama. It isn't new. What's new is this strategy of fear and chaos, the denial of due process, the plans for mass deportation on an unprecedented scale. They want to end asylum and change the Constitution to remove birthright citizenship. These radical plans, they threaten our residents. So we will do what is necessary to defend our residents. We must defend them, and not just from this immediate threat, but from all the chaos, all of the abuse of power that we're going to see coming from Washington, D.C. over the next 4 years. I want to speak directly to the millions of immigrants who call California home. Immigrants who have worked hard to build a better life for themselves, for their families. You are a vital part of our communities. You are loved, you are respected, and you belong here in the state of California. To my fellow colleagues, I know that we are all up to the challenge, and it is an honor to work with each and every one of you. There is so much talent and knowledge in this room. Of course, there will be some differences of opinion, but I know all of us want to make life better for Californians. I hope that we can all take inspiration from this portrait of Abraham Lincoln. That's why it is here. During difficult times, he kept his head. He knew what he believed in. He stayed true to his values, but he never lost sight of the humanity of all Americans. Chaos has no place here. Fear and hatred have no place here. We will be professional, collaborative, and focused. We are not going to be distracted from our mission to protect our residents, to protect our economy, and to deliver the best possible public services to the 40 million Californians we all represent. Thank you very much.